So without further ado, we can finally get to talking about how to perform a z-test for the mean with sigma known, where as we get into it, there are a couple of things we want to check just to be sure that they work, but essentially we have a pretty repetitive process that we're going to see variants of in a few other contexts over the course of the next few chapters. But essentially, for any hypothesis test, and this one in particular, what you want to do starts by verifying the conditions that you need to work with are satisfied. Very rarely is this not going to be the case, but essentially what we need is to know the sample's randomly drawn, we have the right information about our parameters, and whatever our sample is, it fits the central limit theorem, so it's either large enough or approximately normal or what have you. Then you put up the hypotheses and the claim. So your null, your alternative, which one you're working around. From there, you specify your level of significance, which is almost always in our context a given value, but if you're actually going to do one of these tests for your own research, that's something you pick. Then you find the test statistic. So in there somewhere, if this is in the real world, you'd be drawing your sample, but this is where you'd just be finding whatever that value is in terms of your sample given. Then you find the area corresponding to that z-value, to that test statistic, and the corresponding p-value. If you want to do stuff with critical values, you might do things with critical values in here involving alpha, but we'll talk about that later. From there, once you have your pieces, where be careful about doubling in case you're dealing with a two-tailed test, you make your decision, and finally you interpret your results. Where, like I said, really up to some variation for the type of distribution, the type of test, the type of statistic, these 7 steps are what you're going to be following for a good chunk of the next few chapters. And for that matter, well, you'll probably be doing a lot of this in the calculator. In particular, for this stuff, there's a really nice function built in called the z-test function, where you can use that. There's also stuff you can do in Excel, and there are other really nice single-use calculators that are available online that I may provide you guys links to, but just be careful that sometimes there are some subtle differences in terms of their interface, in terms of what inputs they like more, in terms of what sort of formatting they're looking for, but as long as you're careful and you understand the rough shape of what you're doing, I don't really mind which you use, as long as you get to the right place. But with these steps that we have in mind, with the test that we're going to be working from in mind, now we'll get to an example to see this process in action.
It's about damn time.